Good things come to those who wait. That's the best way to describe the current generation of Chevrolet Corvettes in the market. With their mid-engine configuration, exotic styling, and monstrous performance, everyone now wants a Chevy Corvette. But just how good were the gas-guzzling V8 Corvettes of the old? Let's dive into the world of the rarest Corvettes ever made. These cars are so rare you probably didn't know they existed. Kicking off the list, we have the 1969 Baldwin Motion Phase 3 GT. If a stock C3 Corvette seems too tame, the Baldwin Motion Phase 3 GT is the antidote. At first glance, the Baldwin does not have the typical Corvette styling DNA. But under the hood is where this car truly shines. High-performance Corvette tuner Joel Rosen took ordinary C3 Corvettes and turned them into barely disguised race cars. With flared fenders containing massive tires, a 4-speed manual transmission setup, wild hood scoops hinting at the power within, and Le Mans-style side exit exhausts that roared like thunder, the Baldwin's was every adrenaline junkie's fix in 1969. Powering the Baldwin Motion Phase 3 GT was the big block 7.0-liter L71 displacement engine, although Chevrolet added custom engine options for die-hard fans that needed more power. Even with 3 years of production, only 10 Phase 3 GT models exist, making it a truly rare Corvette. Sure, they are loud, utterly captivating, and fast, but finding one is like witnessing an exotic animal in the wild, and that's if you recognize it. Last time a Phase 3 GT Baldwin auctioned was in 2020 when it sold for $121,000. Moving on to number 6, the 1983 Chevrolet Corvette. The 1983 Corvette is an enigma, a whispered legend among gearheads. Initially announced to revolutionize the performance car market in 1982, fans were left disappointed when GM pushed release by a year and then another year. So, in ideal terms, this is a 1984 model, but it's not. 61 units of the 1983 Chevy Corvettes were produced, but 60 have been destroyed, with only one model left due to luck and employee blunders. Turned out someone forgot there was one unit of the 83 models tucked away in the manufacturing plant. The 1983 Corvette was originally intended to launch the sleek, futuristic C4 generation, but became a victim of circumstance. Quality concerns and last-minute design changes plagued the production process, forcing Chevrolet to sacrifice the 83 model year. Of the 61 units that left the production line, 43 were pilot cars, and 18 were prototypes. So, while every collector dreams of owning this piece of Corvette history that was almost wiped from existence, the chances of seeing one on the road today are zero, since the only surviving model is on display at the National Corvette Museum. Holding down the 5th spot, we have the 1971 Chevrolet Corvette ZR2. The 1971 ZR2 was a glorious farewell to an era, a final roar before strict emissions regulations ushered out the golden muscle car era. Under the hood, the 1971 ZR2 featured the legendary 454 cubic inch LS6 V8 engine that made the iconic Chevelle SS a huge success back in the day. But the ZR2 wasn't just about power, heavy-duty brakes, a beefed-up suspension, a Muncie M22 transmission setup, and track-focused upgrades like the large anti-sway bars turned this car into a straight-line missile and a nimble car on the bends and corners. The ZR2 could go from a standstill to 60 miles per hour in under 5.3 seconds, and covering a quarter mile took 13.8 seconds. Only 12 ZR2 were ever built, making them quite rare. And in case you didn't know, the ZR initials are short for Zora Racer, which is an homage to Zora Arkus Duntov, the father of modern Corvettes. Up next, the 1971 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. In a world of flashy, chrome-laden Corvettes, the 1971 ZR1 was a stealth assassin. Designed as the 1971 ZR2 successor, the ZR1 ditched the usual big block for a small block, high-revving 350 cubic inch engine honed for track domination. And don't be fooled by the downsizing. This Vette still packed a 390 horsepower punch, a removable rear window to ride in style, rally wheels, and body color roof panels, among other remarkable features. Deceptively quick and surprisingly nimble, the ZR1. With only 8 ever made, the ZR1 is one of the rarest Chevrolet Corvettes ever made. The ZR1 nameplate ended up becoming so famous, Chevrolet decided to keep the name for subsequent models in the Corvette line. There's even a rumor Chevy is working on a 2025 Corvette ZR1 that promises a mid-engine setup and a supercharged 755 horsepower V8 engine. At number 3, we have the 1963 Chevrolet Corvette Grand Sport. The Grand Sport is a tale of what could have been a Corvette built to slay the legendary Shelby Cobra 42 but fell just short. The car was lightweight, boasted sharp edges, and packed with a ferociously tuned engine to become an all-out racing machine. Barely street legal, GM pulled the plug on the Chevy Grand Sport after building only 5 units due to corporate politics and shifting priorities instead of the 150 units originally planned. Regardless, the 5 1963 Grand Sports produced became instant legends in the industry. Each unit featured a 6.2-liter 377 cubic inch displacement engine with an engine rating of 550 horsepower. Unfortunately, the Grand Sport never saw action on the racetracks as General Motors was no longer interested in racing. Honorable mention, before we get to the top 2 rarest Corvettes ever made, we just have to give a shout out to the 1963 Corvette Rondine. With a 5.4-liter displacement small block engine that produces 360 horses, only one of this model left the assembly line. Co-developed by Italian car design firm Pininfarina, this Corvette shows an excellent masterpiece that can result from an Italian-American partnership. Chevy decided against mass-producing the 1963 Rondine despite the car stealing the show at the 1963 Paris Motor Show. In 2010, the Rondine sold at an auction for $1.6 million to a private collector. Before the auction, the car originally dazzled visitors at the Pininfarina Museum. Down to the top 2. First up is the 1969 Chevrolet Corvette ZL1. The ZL1 is automotive royalty, a Corvette so extreme that Chevrolet wildly understated its engine figures to avoid paying extra to insure the car. Under the hood was a 427 cubic inch aluminum big block, a race-tuned engine designed for one thing, domination. Only 2 were ever built for hardcore racers, making them the rarest of the rare. Of these 2 units, only the yellow model is well documented, with relatively no information on the other unit. At the heart of the car is a 427 cubic inch L88 displacement V8 engine. The engine actually delivered around 585 horses, although the official rating was 430 horsepower. Built on the C3 Corvette platform, the ZL1 featured heavy-duty brakes, a high-performance suspension, an open-chamber aluminum cylinder head design, and a high-lift camshaft, among other performance upgrades. If there was ever a priceless Corvette, the ZL1 would be that car, as the market value largely depends on how much the interested buyer is willing to pay. The last time one of the 2 ZL1 models was auctioned was in 2023 when it sold for $3.14 million. And finally, the 1967 Chevrolet Corvette L88. The 1967 L88 Corvette isn't just a car, it's a masterpiece. On the surface, it looks like a regular C2 Corvette, but that was an executive decision by GM to make the car street legal. Under the hood, the Chevy L88 packed a 427 cubic inch big block V8 engine specially built for racing. Chevy's official 430 horsepower rating was a lie, of course, to trick the insurance companies. In reality, the L88 pumped out around 550 horsepower. Since this was way above what the biggest players in the market, like the Mustang Shelby GT500 and Dodge Charger, were cranking out at the time, the L88 quickly carved a niche for itself. As a performance car, the L88 boasted a forged steel cross-drilled crankshaft for improved oil flow and durability, forged connecting rods and pistons, a robust lifter camshaft, and one of the largest Holley carburetor for peak racing performance. Only 20 of these monstrous machines were ever made, and they weren't for the faint of heart. With no comfort additions like power steering, air conditioning, or even a radio, there was little motivation for regular car lovers to get the Lady 8. This genius move allowed GM to sell the model only to gearheads in the market for raw, unfiltered power. The 1967 L88 also required high-octane fuel, which became an issue over time due to high fuel consumption. Of course, this list barely scratches the surface of rare Chevy Corvettes ever made. What other model do you think should have made the list? Drop a comment below. Drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next upload.